Hi, this is my persuasive speech, the practice outline run through. Um, I do just want to let you know beforehand, I have been dealing with an illness the past couple days. It's possibly COVID, I'm not quite sure, but so I will honestly be reading most of through the outline, but I'll try to make it as much like a speech as possible. But just want to let you know that, and that's something I'll be working on in the future. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jackie Robinson. Have you heard these names before? All three of these men were famous baseball players who revolutionized the sport they loved, each in his own distinct way. Whether you're a sports fan or not, you've probably heard of these guys before. Baseball is the best sport. That's what I hope to make clear in this speech. Baseball is also a complicated sport. It's not the easiest sport in the world. It may not be the hardest from certain viewpoints. But baseball is enriching and rewarding, both to those who play it and those who watch. There really isn't another sport where someone can be successful on 3 out of 10 attempts at something and be considered an all-star. This is possible in baseball, and that's what makes the sport so intriguing. I love baseball. It's my favorite sport in the whole world, and I one day hope to pursue a career that has something to do with it. I have been a fan my entire life, and I know firsthand how much baseball can impact a person. I have studied the game, researched, and even been involved in other sports to be able to tell you with a surety that baseball is the best. Now, I'm sure there are many of you who have your own favorite sport. It's probably not baseball. And there are probably many of you who don't really care much about sports at all. I totally get that. But whichever of those categories you fall into, I'm here to prove to you that baseball is still the best. We'll look at some of the history of baseball and some reasons as to why it is arguably the best sport. By the end of this speech, I hope you will have an understanding of why I believe baseball is such a popular sport and why it is the best. We'll start with a little bit of history about America's pastime. Baseball has been around for well over a century. In fact, we'll be coming up on baseball's 200-year anniversary within the next 30 years or so. The first recorded game of baseball ever played was on June 19, 1846. If you had ancestors who fought in the Civil War, they might have been baseball fans first. Unlike with sports such as basketball or football, nobody knows who exactly invented the sport of baseball. For many years, it was claimed that Abner Doubleday, who later became a general in the Civil War, invented the sport in 1839. However, there is little to almost no evidence to support this, so it remains a mystery for lots of people. Another part of baseball's history is that they would use just about anything for equipment. Bats were sometimes made from tree branches before being refined and crafted into the bats we know and recognize today. Balls were anything from rocks covered in socks to compressed balls of yarn wrapped in leather. Nothing like the baseballs that we know and see today. Also, most players didn't use gloves, and gloves actually didn't become more widely used until the 1880s, about 40 years after the invention of baseball. Professional baseball leagues have been around since 1871. The National Association of Professional Baseball Players was established in 1871 as the first major leagues. In 1876, about 5 years later, the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs was established, which soon became more popular than the original NAPBL. In 1901, the American League of Professional Baseball Clubs was founded to act as a rival to the National League. Thus, baseball's two-league system was born, and that's how we see baseball today. Now, this was just a brief dive into the history of baseball, particularly in the United States, but I could spend hours talking about it more, but we'll move on. I want to now list a few common reasons most baseball fans believe it is the best sport. You could ask any baseball fan to list reasons why he or she believes baseball is the best sport, and he or she most likely wouldn't have a hard time thinking of some. Most people who love the sport have some strong opinions about this. I looked through lists that fans, writers, and experts have posted on the internet, and I wanted to share some of the common reasons that they believe baseball is the best. First, baseball has amazing history. A common thing among baseball fans is that no other major sport in the United States has enjoyed longevity as long as baseball. Basketball has only been around since about maybe the 1930s or so, football the early 1900s, but as I mentioned, baseball was originally started in roughly the mid 1800s. Second, baseball is one of the most cerebral sports, meaning that it requires the most brain power and technical strategies. Lots of people argue that baseball is boring because there's not as much action as other sports. However, a large portion of baseball is mental. A quote that I found online from an expert in the field said, "You don't see books and movies made about computer geeks in the NFL revolutionizing the game." This was in reference to the hit movie Moneyball, featuring Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill, that came out in about 2012. Baseball is a numbers game, and sabermetrics, the analytics of baseball, is seen as where advanced sports analytics was spawned. And these sabermetrics are now found in all sports, but they originated in baseball. Third, baseball isn't just a run out the clock game. Most other sports allows the team that is winning to do something that wastes time and runs out the clock or makes it so that they don't have to keep performing to win. They've already got the lead, so they just try to waste time and make sure the losing team doesn't have a chance to come back and take the lead. In football, the winning team can run the ball, which keeps the clock going until time runs out. In basketball, the winning team can just dribble the ball around, wasting time so the losing team has less chances to score at the end. Eventually, the winning team is going to have to make shots, but there's not as much pressure to keep scoring and gaining points. In soccer and hockey, the winning team can simply pass the ball around or the puck until time runs out. However, baseball forces the winning team to continue to pitch and play defense, which means no game is over until the final out is made. This is thanks to baseball's system of playing innings, where each team has 3 outs and multiple chances to score runs and win the game. So the winning team, even if they've got a big lead, they've still got to give the losing team a chance, and that's what makes baseball so interesting. Fourth, baseball season is the longest, and it plays the most games. Baseball seasons are 162 games long, and that doesn't include the postseason or the playoffs. For reference, basketball seasons are 82 games long, about half of what a baseball season is, and football seasons are only 16 games long. Baseball is also played during the summer months, making it the best time of year for getting outdoors and connecting with others over sports. Baseball generally runs from about April to September or October, whereas sports like basketball and football are generally played in the winter, and there's just not as much opportunity for people to interact with each other and really enjoy the nice weather and enjoy a sporting event. Baseball is also played on a daily basis, whereas sports like basketball are played usually every other day. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 days in between games, and football games are only played once a week. So with baseball, you're getting a more consistent stream of sports, which really helps and makes a lot of people happy. Really, there are so many reasons that baseball is the best sport, and as with the history of it, I could keep going. But I wanted to recap what I've covered thus far. Baseball has a rich, long history of bringing joy and pleasure to not only Americans, but to people worldwide. It has become a global sport. Baseball is now the current most popular sport in countries like Latin American countries like Dominican Republic, Cuba, Japan. It's really become a sport that gets played all over the world and is loved by everyone. Baseball also differs from other major sports in a variety of ways that puts it in a completely different tier of sports. Baseball may not be the most popular in terms of viewers and those who play it, but baseball is far and above the best sport in the world. Thank you.